does this video deserve over 270 million views? Because last time I checked, there were well over 270 million smartphone owners across the United States of America. And I would like to challenge every single one of them to take a few minutes out of their evening to search these keywords. Hawaii's public school air conditioning crisis. Or if you don't happen to live in Hawaii, you can also search America's public school air conditioning crisis. And after you take your time to do your research on that, you might be just as amazed as I was to realize just how many states that's actually going on in and just how much money that's actually going to cost to solve. I originally thought it was only going to cost $100 million to solve that over here in Hawaii 2 decades ago. But no, it's going to cost over $1 billion to properly air condition all the public school classrooms in this state. I'm sorry, fine art is supposed to be a soothing experience. And I'm already allowing my emotions to get the best of me, aren't I? I'll try to cool it down just a bit. But it makes me hot and bothered to realize that our politicians over here had over 20 years to do something about this. And it took them an absurdly long amount of time to come up with $100 million. Isn't it amazing how none of the multi-billionaire titans of our tech world, who like to visit Hawaii on a regular basis as well, wanting to call it their second home, ever seem to get the memo about this? I don't know why. It would just be such a no-brainer foundation that I would set up over here in Hawaii if I had tens of billions of dollars in my piggy bank to play with, you know? Including a certain super famous social connector, whose name I won't mention. I'll just let all of you take an educated guess who I'm thinking about. It sounded to me like one of his biggest dreams in life was to be a real island boy. And yet it didn't sound to me like he was making a hell lot of new friends over on the Garden Isle of Kauai recently. And yet I was thinking to myself, this would be one very legitimate way that he could potentially be making a hell lot of new friends over here in Hawaii if he was so inclined. If he had a genius like me prodding him in the proper direction. You never know. In case he feels like beating me to the punch, he's more than welcome to step up to the plate on this one and knock it out of the park before me. But between now and when this unimaginably dreadful problem gets wiped out all across the country, I suppose I shall just allow this haunting question to hover in the backs of everyone's minds. Do you think in the richest country in the world should there be any distance in time between when any public school teacher across this great land of ours requests proper temperature control for their classroom and when that's provided for them? Because I think the answer to that is a big, fat no. I thought y'all were balling. I thought we were ballers over here in America. And yet we're not balling hard enough to provide every public school kid across this country with a classroom that they genuinely want to exist in, are we? And yet it's amazing. I can think of about 5 multi-billionaire titans of our tech world who could probably wipe out this crisis all across the country in less than a year if they were so inclined. But they're not. So anyway, I suppose I'm going to have to step up to the plate and present my own unique, outside-the-box solution to smartphone owners all across America. We're going to find out just how successful of a man I can be, turning this experience from being just a masterpiece in art into a masterpiece in the art of persuasion, aren't we? I can be a very persuasive man. We're going to find out if I can persuade every smartphone owner across the United States of America to spend at least $2 on my website after they get finished watching this video. But I have realized the most brilliant name for the foundation that I would love to set up over here in Hawaii should be called the Fire Dancer Foundation, named after my most miraculous sunset photo, in order to fathom what a legitimate miracle of mathematical improbability Fire Dancer actually happens to be. You have to view it from the 4th dimension, time. And you have to remember, I don't live at the Hyatt Regency Waikiki. I've had access to that view for a very, 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 very small sliver of time over the last 2 decades. But it is insane. It is insane to attempt to visualize the mathematical probability of me being on a high floor of the only tower in all of Waikiki that could have given you that eerie, trippy alignment with the triangular edge of that seawall and the triangular shape of that upside-down glowing red crystal in the ocean. You know? All you have to do is imagine what it would look like if you had 20 years of Hawaii sunset calendars and you ripped out all the pages. What would that look like? 240 pages of potential months, correct? Now, what would it feel like if I walked up to you and I put a bow with 7 arrows on a table right next to you, and I said, I want you to shoot these 7 arrows at that huge wall of 7,300 potential dates, hoping to hit the correct day where you're going to score the most unbelievably gorgeous sunset that anyone in Hawaii can remember over the last 2 decades. But in order to play this game, you've got to strap $400 of your own Benjamins to each of those arrows before you shoot them. Now, how many of you would feel comfortable shooting a single arrow at that huge wall of 7,300 potential dates if that's how much it costs to play this game? I think it's pretty safe to say that the vast majority of people, like 99.99999% of people, however many nines you have to add, wouldn't feel comfortable shooting a single arrow at that huge wall of 7,300 potential dates. Would they? Because that sounds a little insane, doesn't it? That sounds like a game you're probably not going to win with just 7 tries. I wish there could have been someone in that hotel room with me filming how emotional I got while shooting Fire Dancer. I seriously look like a person who just won the lottery. And it's interesting to realize how, depending on how persuasive of a man I can be, we're going to find out if I can persuade every smartphone owner across the United States of America who might happen to agree with that brilliant point that I just made about Hawaii's not quite as awesome as it could have just as easily been by now public school system. Feel like chipping in their $2. Because this is a product that has the legitimate potential of being worth $2 to every smartphone owner across the face of the planet. I'm turning this into a bit of a spiritual test, if you will, to see how serious America would like to be about helping me create the smarter and the happier versions of our school kids. I'm pretty darn sure that every single smartphone owner across the United States of America will totally thank me for this suggestion. Seriously. All you have to do is take a few minutes out of your day to visit my website, CameronBrooksArt.com. You scroll down, you click on Fire Dancer, you look for the buy button on the bottom right. You then go to digital, downloads, or keepsakes. But for just $2, you can acquire your own personal copies at 1733 by 2311 pixels, which is at least 4 times as sharp as the version you've seen me post at facebook.com/CamBrooksArt, which anyone can access for free, but it's only available at 700 by 933 pixels. Trust me, in the age of these super sharp Retina smartphones, you don't want to settle for less. On this one, it would be a crime against the gods of fine art. Would you not agree? Now, may I remind everybody that after you acquire these digital downloads, you have the legal right to use them as the new background wallpapers for your smartphones, your tablets, and your home computers, in case you feel like acquiring a bunch of the horizontal ones as well. And once you acquire this photograph or a batch of the digital downloads, you then have the legal right to print them as 8x10s for your home, your office, your dorm room, wherever you feel like decorating. You know, I was actually going to go on an epic rant right now giving all of the would-be pirates out there of my digital downloads the scolding of a lifetime. But people in my family thought that I sounded too aggro, so I cut that section out of the video. Perhaps I will throw that in a longer episode of this video. But I'm trying to keep the vibes high in this episode. Just remember, if I do manage to get this foundation off the ground, you can't rob from me and not rob America of the smarter and the happier versions of her school kids at the same time. That is, if I manage to get the Fire Dancer Foundation up and running, you know? Just keep that haunting truth hovering in the backs of all of your minds, all right? And by the way, did you know there were people in my family trying to suggest to me that this was a bad time to release my video, saying that people don't want to be sold art right now. And I understand. I understand where they're coming from. This might not be the best time to release my video about this super lame, quote-unquote, emergency going on in our public school system, seeing as how America seems to have a bit bigger of an emergency on its hands right now. But we've all got to do our best, don't we, to keep this sluggish economy stimulated. Would you not agree? And right now, the only way that I can make money is by talking to myself in a bathroom mirror. I'm just going to be honest. Here's a man who's never been to marketing school, who's trying to do the best he possibly can to achieve two seemingly impossible feats with a single viral video, attempting to persuade every smartphone owner across the United States of America to follow facebook.com/CamBrooksArt. That is, if they care about the more uplifting versions of their morning news feeds. And hopefully attempting to inspire every smartphone owner who watches this video to spend money on the most money helicopter photography website that's ever been made in the skies of any state in the USA. And can you blame me for wanting to attach that very noble cause, when it might very well be the difference between those digital downloads of Fire Dancer being worth less than $20, which is what they've made so far, and being worth over $540 million, which is what they could potentially be worth by the end of this year, if I manage to get every smartphone owner across the United States of America to cast their vote on my mind, to chip in their $2 to join that foundation, you know? Only time will tell. I couldn't stop giggling to myself when I was reading all the comments made after this one particular titan of the tech world donated $100 million to the school system over in New York. And people on the internet, if you could believe it, were complaining about his motives. They were like, oh, you know, he just did that for publicity, you know. It was like every other comment said the same thing. And I was laughing to myself, thinking, even if there was a part of his mind doing that for publicity, would it really matter? You know? You should be pretty stoked when $100 million falls out of the sky onto the public school system in any state, you know? He could have just as easily spent that exact same time flipping through the pages of a brand new mega yacht catalog. But he wasn't, was he? So you've got to give him some props for that. Even though his donation didn't go quite as swimmingly as he'd hoped. I was reading another article about that donation, as a matter of fact, that said the school system squandered the money, if you could believe it. I was laughing to myself thinking, how do you squander $100 million? I don't know. But apparently they managed. I suppose anything is possible if you pour enough of your heartlessness or your soullessness into any endeavor. you know? I was giggling to myself even more, thinking, you'd think a man as smart as him might have seen something like that coming a mile away, you know? You can't just trust people with your Benjamins like that. And I'm just wondering how many of you out there in the audience might happen to agree with me as to how this right here might very well have been a smarter way that he could have donated those $100 million. I'm going to let all of you decide. Think about this. How much harder would it have been for a man with a piggy bank as fat as his to just hire a few people to sit in a room to field all the calls and all the applications from all the public school teachers in that state, or whatever state you want? And all those public school teachers come to your foundation at some time throughout the year to pick up a yearly bonus check, you know? Like if you just even out $100 million among over 11,000 teachers that we have over here in Hawaii, just an even bonus to their salaries, you know? Would that be enough to turn a whole lot of these frowns upside down over here in the Rainbow State? You know? I don't know why that brilliant idea decided to arrive in the mind of a helicopter photographer before it arrived in the mind of one of the smartest people in our society. But in case he feels like beating me to the punch on that one as well, he's more than welcome to step up to the plate and knock it out of the park. Because I'm pretty darn sure that $100 million is not a whole lot of money for a man like him. And if he'd like to take a few minutes out of his day to search these keywords, Hawaii ranked 50th in the nation for public school teachers, he's more than welcome to. I'm sorry, I get so worked up. But I mean, it just gets me hot and bothered when one of the main heads of the Teachers Association says it is downright embarrassing that we are ranked 50th in the nation. And I really can't wait to see just how many views this video winds up getting on the internet, considering the fact that I've seen some music videos recently that have gotten an absurd amount of views. And I honestly feel like they are lowering my intelligence. And if I can't get a fraction of those views, what will that be saying about the intelligence level of our society? You know? The last most brilliant viral video that I ever watched about the education system got less than 24 million views. And it was one of the most brilliant viral videos I've ever seen. I felt compelled to share it on my social newsfeed, and I don't know why more people out there weren't in the same boat, considering this is probably the most important thing we could be talking about as a society on the internet. Would you not agree? And that brilliant viral video about the education system didn't get 1/3 the amount of views as a certain 13-pound cheeseburger that managed to amass over 3 times the amount of views in less than half the amount of time. So what is that telling you about the intelligence level of our society? That we might happen to be at least 6 times as passionate about making our children fatter than we are about making our children smarter? Apparently. That was a perfectly accurate social barometer in my eyes. That's what that was. So only time will tell just how serious America would like to be helping me elevate Hawaii to a higher sphere of respectability in the eyes of our nation. You know what I mean? Anyway, I've got to go and get myself another cup of coffee to properly rise in the morning. And I'm going to let all of you take the time to decide. If you could only choose 5 photographs from this video to have printed on the side of 5 15-ounce coffee mugs for your home, what would they be? I'm going to let all of you decide. I mean, it is insane to realize that if I had physical stores in every single shopping mall across the face of the planet, you gotta wonder what percentage of people, if they were forced to confront my unbelievably awesome selection of next level helicopter photography coffee mugs, what percentage of people throughout the rest of this entire decade would rather opt for one of my suggestions instead of a plain white coffee mug? You know? I mean, it's crazy to realize I'd probably be outselling some of these major coffee chains like you couldn't even imagine, you know? Since I don't seem to have any physical coffee mug shops across the face of the planet, and since I don't have the magical ability to knock on the front door of every home across the face of the planet to show them my collection, then I suppose this might just have to be the next best thing, wouldn't you say? Now, just in case this video succeeds at taking over the world, you never know. I might be bombarded by a flurry of requests from offices all across the planet, you know? I mean, I have some real estate offices asking for 43 by 96 metal prints sometimes. And isn't it insane to think, if I could just push a little button, bing, right on the side of my bed, before I went to Betty Buy, that would alert every single business all across the planet who might be looking for artwork for their walls, or who might be needing beautiful photographs to decorate the banners of their websites. It's insane to think. I can't even imagine how many orders I might start getting on a daily basis, you know? So I suppose this is me attempting to make some magic happen in my life. Me attempting to pull a bunny that fat out of my magical hat today. That's what this is. But anyway, just in case that happens, I've made things a whole lot easier for everyone out there in the audience who might be wondering which of these epic panoramas are available at 50 megapixels. I'd say around the top 50. There's at least 50 shots in my 1x2 panorama gallery that were all captured at 50 megapixels, just to make things a hell of a lot easier for you. But if you click on any image, even in the 2x3 gallery, and go to the settings tab, you can actually see what resolution the image is available at. So, in case you might be wanting a 50 megapixel masterpiece of the Ko'olau mountain range, like this, for your office, or like this, for your bedroom, I'm just trying to make things a hell of a lot easier for all of you. Damn, have you ever seen rays that majestic coming down behind the Ko'olau mountain range? Because I haven't. Is it not the most perfect picture that's ever been taken of the Nepali coast at sunset? That's what this might actually happen to be. If I lived anywhere on the island of Kauai, I would be needing a 40 by 60 canvas or metal print of this 5-star masterpiece from my home. All of you emo teens out there can't come bitching to me about how boring it is in quarantine, can you? When you could be spending all this time decorating your entire home with these 8x10s. Can you imagine? Some homes, some larger homes over here on Oahu, could seriously go to town with this 8x10 concept for the cost of a single chartered R-44 helicopter flight. Can you imagine if you had 400 of these in a single large home, and you arranged your home almost like a museum, where every single room of your home was a different wing with a different theme? You know, you could have one room that was nothing but sunset shots. You could have another room that was nothing but night shots. You could have another room that was nothing but the rainbow shots. You could have another room that's nothing but high altitude shots. You could have another room that's nothing but abstract shots. You know? I have such an insanely massive collection that you could seriously make your home more visually intriguing than the last modern art display that I saw at the last actual museum that I went to. Seriously. But are you patient enough to take the time to go out and buy all those 8x10 picture frames and have each of these framed? Or even if you don't feel like having them framed, I'd be just as honored if I walked into someone's home that took the time to print out hundreds of these, not framed. In fact, I'd be more honored to see hundreds of these not framed taped to someone's wall than walking into someone's home and seeing 40 or 50 of them framed. Because it's the thought that counts, isn't it? Damn, is that not the most gorgeous sunset photo that anyone has ever taken of Turtle Bay? That's what it might actually happen to be, to me. If you had any idea just how close to death my camera was when I took this sunset photo, it was like I think it's like a half-second exposure, but I had to whip the camera up as fast as I possibly could. That wave right there is a lot more ferocious than you think, you know? How many of you would like to hear about one of the most miraculous realizations that I've ever had in my entire life? And I wouldn't even be talking about this right now if it wasn't for one random fan over in Nevada who ordered the very first 3.5 by 5 inch refrigerator magnet from CameronBrooksArt.com. And let me tell you, there is no greater feeling of elation that a man can have in this world than watching a totally random stranger in another time zone fall in love with a product that you had no idea you were even offering. A product that you had no idea how much you would fall in love with. And it's funny to think, it took me about 24 hours before this eureka light bulb went off in my mind, realizing, oh my goodness, I'm seriously like the refrigerator magnet king of Hawaii. I just didn't know it all these years. Because everyone's current conception of just how awesome a refrigerator magnet collage from Hawaii could possibly get will be limited to 13 non-helicopter photos. That was seriously the biggest selection I could possibly find in any physical store here on the island of Oahu. But I'm going to let all of you ask yourselves, what sounds like a more fun and exciting way for families all across the state, all across the nation, and all around the world to bond over this concept? Having 13 non-helicopter photos to choose from? Or spending an entire evening on my website going through this epic list of hundreds of insanely gorgeous helicopter photos, deciding on what the dream refrigerator magnet collage would look like. And this is the most fun thing for me to realize, is how this is an idea that every single resident on the island of Oahu is going to fall in love with. And yet there's not a single person who would have the same conception of what their dream refrigerator magnet collage to tell the story of their lives would look like, you know? If I can make one last brilliant suggestion, nay, if I could make two big, bold demands to everyone out there in the audience visiting my website for the first time or going back for new orders, please remember to turn your smartphones horizontally instead of vertically, because the resolution comes through so much sharper, it's not even funny. Big, bold demand number 2. Please remember to turn on some of your favorite music, whether it be classical, Hawaiian, electro swing, or EDM. If you haven't heard of this genre, trippy minimal techno, oh, do I feel sorry for every human being across the face of the planet with internet access who doesn't think it's worth spending an hour of their lives listening to a 1-hour mix of electro swing and a 1-hour mix of trippy minimal techno. What rock was I living under on the internet for all these years? That was the feeling that I had when discovering those two genres of music for the first time, years after I ought to have discovered them. I just feel like they would have gotten my creative juices flowing a whole lot more efficiently. And that might be a very similar feeling of what rock was I living under that every refrigerator owner across the face of the planet might also happen to have if they take the time to visit CameronBrooksArt.com. If they manage to make it all the way to the bottom of that tower of endless visual power. If they click on any image, then go down to buy, then click on buy multiple photos, then click on keepsakes, then click on large refrigerator magnets. Because then, and only then, will everyone who falls into that category begin to understand the depth of my brilliance. Will begin to realize what makes me the most brilliant refrigerator magnet maestro who has ever fallen out of the skies into your lives this entire century. I'm not trying to sound boastful. I'm not trying to humble brag or anything. That's kind of annoying this day and age. It's just the truth. If you want to be anything great in this world, you've got to be your own biggest cheerleader in life, don't you? You've got to love yourself as much as a certain super outspoken rapper loves himself. I'm not going to mention his name. And I suppose I ought to allow another astonishing fact to hover in the backs of everyone's minds, which is the fact that if you don't take the time to share this video with all of your close friends, they're all going to be going through the rest of their entire lives never even being aware of the existence of the first fine art website in the history of the internet that went out of its way to set the world record for the amount of epic rainbow shots that have ever been captured from a helicopter in the skies of the Rainbow State. Now, does that not sound like a historic, artistic achievement that ought to be deserving of a few minutes of everyone's attention? Or perhaps a few hours of consideration? Has my website not earned at least $15 worth of respect from every refrigerator owner across the face of the planet? Has it not earned $30 worth of respect from every mouse clicker across the face of the planet who might have been sticking with a plain white or a plain black mouse pad all these years? Has a website as genius as CameronBrooksArt.com not earned $40 worth of respect from every coffee lover across the face of the planet who might happen to agree with the brilliant point that I made in the beginning of this video and the equally brilliant point that I will be elaborating on in the beginning of the next video about our not quite as awesome as it could have just as easily been by now public school system here in America? I certainly hope the answer is yes. Don't you dare ask me if I capture these aerial photos from a drone. It offends me. It's a bit like asking a legendary samurai warrior if he likes charging into battle with a high-powered squirt gun instead of a legendary samurai sword that he had to trek to the top of well over 200 misty mountaintops in order to discover, in order to unsheath, shink, in front of the world. That's what this is. That's what this is. If every single one of the 9+ million visitors who came to Hawaii every year, you rev that engine, Sonny, could see just how many times I had to fly over this volcanic crater in a helicopter in order to get a vertical photograph as perfect as this, I don't think any of them would be thinking twice about adding this historic masterpiece to their homes in some way, shape, or form. You know? If I lived in any of those homes along the shoreline, I would be needing a 40x60 canvas of this masterpiece for my home. I'm just being honest. I'm just being real with y'all. I'm just trying to be as real as a man can be. Now, if there are certain romance novel authors out there who can write a single book in less than a year that gets to well over 50 million fans all across the world, why can't the man who spent well over a decade creating the most romantic helicopter photography website ever made about the most gorgeous state in the USA manage to attract the attention of at least 50 million refrigerator owners all across the face of the planet? Is it not the most romantic way that you can decorate your refrigerators? Let all of you decide. I'll let all of you decide. But anyway, since I don't seem to have any multinational companies pumping up my fine art website for me, I suppose I've got to go about winning the hearts and the minds of total strangers all across the planet in a rather outside-the-box sort of way. You know? And when the vast majority of smartphone owners, and I'm talking like 98% of total strangers, tell me that they would much rather be staring at the most miraculous sunset photo that I have ever taken from the Diamond Head Lookout as the background wallpaper for their devices, then I suppose there's a darn good chance that you and the vast majority of your friends fall into that same category. So I suppose, without trying to sound too forceful or anything, because I know just how annoying that can be in my life, when people try to get forceful with me. And yet I suppose there are times in life when you've got to be a little forceful to get what you truly want from this world. Would you not agree? And I suppose this would be a perfect example of one of those times. So I suppose I shall just allow this astonishing fact to hover in the backs of everyone's minds. Which is the fact that if you don't take the time to share this video with all of your close friends, and I mean all of your close friends, and if you don't tell every single person that you meet throughout the rest of this entire year about this video, you would quite literally be allowing a once-in-a-lifetime experience / opportunity, if they happen to own an iPhone or an iPad, to pass them by. Because they'll be going through the rest of their entire lives, never even being aware of the existence of the first sunset photo that has ever been captured in the history of the world, that featured a cloud shaped like a magical unicorn flying away from another cloud shaped like a massive atomic blast. Wow! What do you think are the chances, darlings, of Mother Nature blessing me with a more mathematically improbable bomb cloud sunset photo, even if I camp out at Diamond Head Lookout for the rest of my entire life? Getting extra friendly with all of those adorable cats up there. Meow! 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 You know? Or even if AI somehow managed to extend my life for 2,000 years. And I spent all of that time getting extra friendly with all of those adorable cyborg cats up there. Provided they're not killer cyborg cats by then. But isn't it amazing to realize how I have a lifetime achievement, even more mathematically improbable than walking on the moon? It's the truth. When you think about it, there have been 12 people in the history of the world who have ever walked on the moon. So I suppose my lifetime achievement is on a certain level, but 12 times more mathematically improbable than theirs, isn't it? Now, are you going to leave a historic masterpiece as freakishly rare and as insanely awesome as biblical buried in the basements of your iPhones and your iPads for the rest of your entire lives? I certainly hope not. It's just going to be that much more ferocious when it finally makes its way out of that basement, isn't it? Isn't it? Search my name on iBooks. All you have to do is search the name Cameron Brooks or Heavenly Views of Oahu. You download the first 10 pages of my historic masterpiece for free, and you screen capture the photographs on pages 5, 6, and 10 to add them to your collection of background wallpapers for free, while every other smartphone owner would have to pay me if they wanted to own their own personal copies legally as digital downloads from CameronBrooksArt.com. Just remember, when I attach that very noble cause, you can't rob from me and not rob America of the smarter and the happier versions of her school kids at the same time, can you? And if you didn't seem to think that air conditioner crisis had a direct effect on the smarter and the happier versions of America's school kids, did you know it was actually proven in a study done in New York that kids in classrooms at 90-degree temperatures are 12% more likely to fail their exams than kids in 73-degree environments? So how much more likely to fail do you think these kids in these super hot Hawaiian classrooms were? At 98 degrees? And that's of no fault of their own, is it? The fault of your less than super motivated politicians and you're not anywhere remotely as generous as I probably would have been by now, titans of the tech world. Would you not agree? Has my fine art not succeeded in its spiritual purpose to fill your mind with just the right kind of effervescent spiritual energy today? Don't you love that word? Effervescent. You look up the word effervescent in the dictionary and there ought to be a link to CameronBrooksArt.com, you know? And under normal circumstances, I'd be a little pissed off by anyone who was so cheap that they just wanted to screen capture those 3 photographs and print them out as 8x10s to have in their home, not compensating the man, the maestro behind the lens, for his magical contributions to your lives. But these are not normal times, are they? I suppose that will be my gift to the world. Those 3 heavenly masterpieces, to be printed as 8x10s, to be put anywhere in your home, you know? You can't tell me I didn't provide all of you with a wonderful little side project during all these extra hours we're going to be spending at home, can you? Is that not a sunset photo unlike any other sunset photo you've ever seen in your entire life? Seriously, have you ever seen a sunset captured from a high floor of any hotel on the planet where there were 2 beams of red light glowing in the ocean on the bottom left side and the bottom right side of the frame? You know? Because I haven't. And it makes you appreciate Fire Dancer even more, because that yellow flame section that was shooting out of the purple blimp cloud was only lasting for a very short amount of time. And if I don't manage to capture another sunset from a high floor of that hotel for the rest of this entire century, with as many colors as gorgeously arranged, then Fire Dancer and Waters of Life might very well be a bit like the fine art equivalent of an insanely rare flower that might only bloom once in 100 years. Would you not agree? Now, are you going to go through the rest of your entire lives with masterpieces like mine buried in the basements of your devices? I certainly hope not. Did you hear that our wonderful governor was thinking about reducing teachers' pay by 20% this year? The worst state you could possibly do that in, isn't it? Isn't it? So I suppose it's going to have to be up to me to attempt to come along and pick up the slack, isn't it? Because even though all the schools are closed right now, and that air conditioning crisis is probably on the back burner in a lot of people's minds, well, by the end of this year, I could still theoretically make that dream $100 million donation to help boost the salaries of public school teachers in Hawaii, couldn't I? That is, if I managed to get enough smartphone owners across the planet on board with me, you know? You know? We're going to find out, aren't we? Just how serious our modern day society in the internet age would like to be. Anyway, I hope I've succeeded at providing the entertainment for the evening. I hope this experience was as educational as it was uplifting, soul-stirring, thought-provoking, and unbelievably gorgeous at the same time. Just please remember to turn on some of your favorite tunes and perhaps pour yourselves a nice glass of red wine, or glasses, plural, before getting lost in the jungles, plural, of my mind at CameronBrooksArt.com. Perhaps all of you can help me think of the best motto for my website, CameronBrooksArt.com. Good luck escaping the jungle of my mind. Or perhaps CameronBrooksArt.com. It's a jungle you won't want to escape from. I think we've got a winner, don't we? I think we've got a winner over here. The man with the helicopter photography website that knows how to make all of you feel like epic winners in this great game of life. Good night, America, and thank you for your time.